Good afternoon. Today, our group will be presenting the topic of Azerbaijan's national independence, as well as the Second Karabakh War. History inexorably proves to us that maintaining independence is much harder than winning it. One must be ready for any challenge, learn to overcome difficulties. It so happened that Azerbaijan had the opportunity to become a sovereign state twice in a century. Unfortunately, the first opportunity was lost immediately due to external interference, internal strife, and general political instability. Emerged in 1980, the Azerbaijan Democratic Republic existed for only 23 months. The second time this situation arose only 70 years later. The collapse of the Soviet Empire provided Azerbaijan with an opportunity to regain its lost independence. On 18 October 1991, the Supreme Soviet of the Republic of Azerbaijan adopted the Constitutional Act on State Independence of Azerbaijan. Azerbaijan declared itself the legal successor of the Democratic Republic of Azerbaijan. After a short time, the state symbols of the 80-year period were restored. With this landmark historical document, the Azerbaijani people gained long-awaited freedom after years of waiting. 1991, the distant days of the people's pain, anger, and expectation. People's excitement in the squares reached the climax. Sensing freedom, people were ready to do anything to bring it closer. This was a people tempered by hours of rallies in the squares, mindful of the horrors of January 1990. The imperial tanks were no longer able to block the road to freedom. Azerbaijan, which had lost hundreds of its sons and daughters in the struggle for independence, was moving persistently towards a new life. And finally, the longed-for day has come. In autumn 1991, after long debates, a new era in the history of Azerbaijan began with the adoption of the Constitutional Act of Independence. Several facts contributed to this. Firstly, the collapse of the vast empire that had hitherto exercised tight control over the republic's leadership. Secondly, pressure from the masses of the people, hungry for change for the better. All this compelled the republic's leadership to take certain measures at the top. They felt that the adoption of such a document will reassure the people and thereby prolong their existence as a state structure. It was therefore repeatedly emphasized that this constitutional act was in the first instance purely nominative in nature. Azerbaijan was still governed by Moscow and subject to the Kremlin regime. All this was quite logical and in keeping with the spirit of the times. However, this is now in the past. December 29, 1991, in Azerbaijan was held on popular vote. There was just one phrase in the referendum bulletin. Are you in favor of the Constitutional Act of Independence of Azerbaijan? Over 95% of those eligible to vote participated in the referendum. Azerbaijan voted anonymously for its independence. The Republic of Azerbaijan, which declared its independence, began its existence in an extremely difficult historical situation. Its independence was recognized by Turkey, Romania, Pakistan, Sweden, Iran, the United States, Russia, etc. On March 2, 1992, Azerbaijan became a member of the United Nations. From this day begins its de facto recognition in the world community.
Abulfaz Elchibay's presidency in 1992 and 1993. Abulfaz Elchibay participated in the elections as a candidate of the Popular Front with 7 candidates and was elected president with more than 60% of the vote. The national government, headed by Abulfaz Elchibay, has done quite serious work for a year and rendered its services to history. One of the most important works is the process of starting army building in Azerbaijan. Operation against separatists, victory of Agdara and Avjakan. Our army conducted a successful operation for the first time during the rule of Abulfaz Elchibay. As a result of the operation against separatists sent from abroad, Agdara and Avjakan, occupied by Armenians, were cleared of the enemy. During Elchibay's time, the currency was put into circulation, and before leaving power, it was considered the most active and the valuable currency in Caucasus. Moreover, about education. During the time of Abulfaz Bey, long-needed education reforms were carried out, and the test method for university admission was introduced. For the first time, thousands of young Azerbaijanis had the opportunity to study without any negative circumstances. During the rule of the Popular Front, um, more than 100 textbooks were rewritten in accordance with our national and moral values and made available to students. In addition, change on authority, a very important event carried out by the personnel will of Abulfaz el-Jibay was the withdrawal of the Azerbaijani Russian army. This is especially important because not only did the Russian army remain in the territory of a large country such as Eastern Europe or Germany, but this problem was solved in a civilized and operative manner in Azerbaijan. And the Russian army was expelled from the country. During the one-year authority, changes began in the Soviet economic system. Government agencies were established to transition to a market economy in line with modern requirements, and decisions were made to reform the banking system. During the year, the Milli Majlis discussed the approved more than 100 bills in this direction. As a result of the measures taken, starting from March 1993, the economic crisis left over from the previous system, the Soviet era was stopped, and economic growth and increase of 6% was observed. Serious steps have been taken to build a modern army, and conditions were created for cooperation with Turkey in this field, and Turkish military specialists were involved in army building. The course set by Abdülfaz Elçibey on foreign policy for a year still continues today. Now I give word to my groupmate.
Yes. Hello everybody, I'm Nihat Kasımlı. Today I'm going to speak about the oil industry. As you know, oil has a great importance for the Azerbaijan throughout the history. Today I'm going to speak about also the history of the oil, Azerbaijan oil. Oil was firstly extracted from the Bibi Heybet in Azerbaijan in 1848. In the 1899, the Azerbaijan was in the first place for the production in the world. Even in the 1994, Azerbaijan had produced about 1 billion tons of the oil onshore and offshore. And it's the almost half of the world's production. Azerbaijan oil was one of the decisive factor in even the during the Second World War, because Azerbaijan oil workers, as you know, produce a total 75 millions of the oil, and Baku by itself produced 18% of the fuels in entire former Soviet Union, and we can say that Azerbaijan oil had great influence, great impact in the Second World War, the victory over the Nazi Empire, Germany. But due to the collapse of the Soviet Union in the 19th, Azerbaijan experienced a deep political, economic, and the military crisis. But the hero was the Heydar Aliyev. He used the Azerbaijan oil to solve the difficult issues. For example, cooperation with the large companies gave impetus to the development of the country. And Heydar Aliyev said the experienced the principle and the importance of the oil with this sentence. I'm sure that you know this sentence. Oil is the greatest wealth of Azerbaijan, and it belongs not only to the present Azerbaijan, but also to the future generations. In the upcoming years, we witnessed the corporations with the companies, governments, and etc. etc. Azerbaijan and Güneşli are the largest and the most favorite oil fields in the Caspian Sea prior to the signing the contract, which is production sharing agreement PSA. This contract considers the development of the energy reserve, and it's called, as you know, contract of the century. We signed this contract in the September 1994, in the 20th September in the 1994, and President Heydar Aliyev called this day Day of Oil Mill. So he also decreased in the December 1999 the state oil fund of the Republic of Azerbaijan in the little form SOFAS. This company created to trade and get the exact numbers about Azerbaijan oil production. For example, so far from the 1997 till this day, we produced 223 million tons of the oil and 26 billion cubic meters of the gas. For example, as you know, in 1997 we produced 9 million tons of the oil, but in the 8th year we increased it's almost triple. In the 2005, the number became the 22.2 million of the tons. In the 2 years, it increased 1 million. But it's the interesting part that in the one year, we increased the production for the 10 millions. So that's all from my part. I think you enjoyed while listening to me. Thank you for your listening. Let me stop my recording.
The Karabakh War is one of the most memorable victories in the history of Azerbaijan, and in recent years it has added great glory to our history. So, in this war, the Azerbaijan soldiers and people showed the great courage and made a name for himself in the world. Additionally, based on Ilham Aliyev's speech and the power of our glorious army, this war also called as Operation Iron Fist. As a result of the provocations by Armenian armed forces and intensifying the positions and the settlements of the Azerbaijan in the frontline zone starting from the 6 a.m. on September 27, 2020, the Azerbaijan Army Command decided to launch a rapid counter-offensive. During the 44 days war, the Azerbaijan army was gaining new victories of every day, while the Armenian army unable to resist the Azerbaijan army and continued to covertly fire on civilians. Thus, the second largest city of Azerbaijan, Ganja, Mingechevir and Yevlax, where the strategic facilities are located, as well as Barda, Tartar, Akzabade, and other regions were fired at by ballistic missiles and other heavy artillery. According to the information from the Azerbaijan press, 93 Azerbaijan civilians were maltreated and 454 civilians were wounded. From the very first day of the war, the Azerbaijan army gained the upper hand, and on the very first day, the Azerbaijan army liberated 4 villages from the Armenian occupation. Moreover, our army suffered very few losses and brought the innovation in the war history. In this battle, drones were used with high accuracy, inflicting crushing blows on the enemy. Thus, only with the help of the Bayraktar drones, Azerbaijan has just destroyed $1 billion of the Armenian military equipment. Additionally, Azerbaijan has actively used AN-2 drones to detect the position of the Armenia's air defense systems. And when the enemy forces shut down those drones, they thought these drones were fighter jets. Moreover, even experts from some of the world's most powerful armies praised and were inspired by the bravery of the soldiers during the liberation of Shusha. As a result of the determination and purposeful courage of the Azerbaijan army, Jabral became the first city to be liberated on the 4th of October, and this victory gave the great strength to Azerbaijan. According to the sequence, Fizuli was liberated on October 20, Zengilan on October 20, Gubalı on October 25, and Shusha on November 8. During the war, Azerbaijan liberated 5 cities, 4 settlements, and 286 villages and the Azerbaijan-Iranian border. Additionally, in winning these victories, 2,895 servicemen of our armed force martyred in the Patriotic War. Azerbaijan's military victories, especially the liberation of the Shusha from enemy captivity on November 8, played a decisive role in the fate of the war, and the Armenia acknowledged its defeat. With the statement of the President of the Republic of Azerbaijan, the Prime Minister of the Armenia, and the President of the Russian Federation signed on number 10, 2020, the war resulted in the victory of Azerbaijan. Armenia was forced to return the Kalbajar, Aghdam, and Lashin regions to Azerbaijan. By the order of the President of the Republic of Azerbaijan, September 20 was established as the Day of the Remembrance Day in the Republic of Azerbaijan, and November 8 as the Day of the Victory.
Thank you. Now I want to talk about the Second Karabakh War from information warfare cyber attack. The information war waged by Armenia against Azerbaijan during the Second Karabakh War was also countered effectively. Indeed, Azerbaijan defeated Armenia in the information arena too. False news spread by Armenia was refuted in timely fashion, and objective information delivered to the global community. Since the war flared up in Nagorno-Karabakh on September 27, an information war has also broke out between the parties to the conflict. Both sides tell their publics about their own victories and about the trickery and weakness of adversary. Insult addressed to the other side and shocking video and photographic materials are also used to encourage the people and intimidate the other side. Azerbaijan doesn't report the number of military deaths, promising to do so after the end of the war, and regularly informs only about the deaths of civilians. The Armenian side has several times announced the successful counter-offensive of the Armenian Karabakh troops and the huge losses of the Azerbaijani army. These statements were immediately denied by Baku. The authorities in Azerbaijan chose a tougher method. Facebook, YouTube, WhatsApp, TikTok, and other social media were blocked, but at the same time a particularly fierce information war, parallel to the hostilities, was organized precisely on social media, especially on Twitter and Facebook. On October 8, Facebook published a report on the removal of a large network from the Azerbaijani domain. 589 Facebook accounts, 447 other accounts, and 906 Instagram pages was reported. In addition, any review of the past past 17 years shows the President Ilham Aliyev has worked constantly to keep the issue of Nagorno-Karabakh on the agenda. It has featured in all his speeches and statements, at sessions of international organizations, in all his meetings with world leaders, and in interviews. He ensured that everyone knew which side was aggressor and which victim. Now the whole world is aware. This is one of the main factors that determine success in the war. As for the victory on the battlefield, it's sufficient to describe two completely different scans at its end. On one side of the front, the victorious Supreme Commander-in-Chief of the army, Ilham Aliyev, stands proud. On the other side, Nikol Pashinyan with an army scattered and humiliated. Our people raise portraits of their leaders, Ilham Aliyev, while Nikol Pashinyan is ridiculed and the butt of jokes. You were going to build a road on Jabrail Pashinyan. What happened? Where is the road? You were building a parliament building in Shah. What happened? It went to hell. These words of our president are no proverbial for his people. When someone's actions do not live up to his words, they jeer and ask, what happened, Pashinyan? Cyber attacks were satisfactory nullfield. Moreover, Azerbaijani hackers got into a number of Armenian websites and posted President Ilham Aliyev's words from the international arena. Karabakh is Azerbaijan. As well as if an Armenian soldier doesn't want to die, he should get off Azerbaijani land. Pictures of Azerbaijan national hero Mubariz Ibrahimov were also posted on Armenian websites. A total of 90 Armenian websites were hacked in attacks and began at noon on 27 September. That's all for now. It's my group mate's turn.
Hello everyone, I am Bashir Hatemov. Now I will give you information about how did the Second Karabakh War change Armenia and Azerbaijan. Yes, first of all, the war resulted in the crushing defeat for Armenia, whose leaders agreed to sign a ceasefire agreement brokered by Russia and pledged to withdraw Armenian armed forces from Azerbaijani territories by December 1, 2012. Addressing the people immediately after the signing of agreement during a video conference with Russia President Vladimir Putin on November 10, Azerbaijani President Ilham Aliyev announced victory and congratulated his citizens on the restoration of Azerbaijan's territorial integrity. The war significantly changes the social and political environment in Azerbaijan, generating anonymous public support for the government and its policies towards the conflict. In other words, new laws, new establishment began to build in Azerbaijan. The government enjoys the support of even the opposition forces, which criticized the government before the war. Thus, the 44-day war not only restored Azerbaijan's control over the occupied part of its internationally recognized territories, but also created a wonderful solidarity in Azerbaijan, which can serve as fertile ground for future economic and political reforms. The war had completely different consequences for Armenia. Shocking associated convicted of the inevitability of the Armenian army and its absolute superior over the military capabilities of Azerbaijan. A few hours after the announcement of the peace agreement, the Armenians broke into the parliament building and launched the Speaker of Parliament. Similar attacks against some other officials were reported in the following days. Thousands of Armenians, including politicians, experts, representatives of diaspora, called for the immediate resignation of Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan, although many of them recognized the withdrawal from the peace agreement as impossible. In November 16, television address to the nation, Armenian President Armen Sarkisyan who had previously said a peace deal had not been discussed with him in advance, called for early parliamentary elections, saying it was necessary to resolve the political crisis born of war. The world was shocked by the behavior of those Armenians who, under the ceasefire agreement, had to leave the places in which they illegally settled after the resettlement of Azerbaijan in the early 1990s. President Aliyev states that 99% of the liberated territory, including hospital, houses, monuments, had been destroyed by the Armenians. Also, he added that Azerbaijan will file lawsuits in international court to force Armenia to pay compensation. Seeing this as a real threat, the former Prosecutor General of Armenia and former representative of Armenia in the European Court of Human Rights, Gavor Kostanian, said that Armenia would have to pay more than 50 billion in compensation. Thus, the defeat in Karabakh War pushed the Armenians to political crisis, environmental crimes, and violent extremism against each other. On the contrary, Azerbaijan is celebrating a historic victory, and up to million are looking forward to returning to their homeland, from where they were forcibly expelled some 30 years ago. Thanks for your attention. I hope you have enjoyed our presentation. If you have any question, you are more than welcome.